Numogram Q&A. Hyperstition blog. Hyperstition contributor Tuki has submitted a large number of thoughtful questions about numogrammatic hyperstition, which will hopefully stimulate some vigorous discussion of basic principles and methods. The responses given here are meant to be uncontroversial and preliminary, based on a mishmash of Cthulhu Club insights and suggestions, so if other members of the Hyperstition crew have any problems with them, I hope they'll make corrective remarks. I've taken the liberty of renumbering Tuki's original questions. Question 1. I am particularly intrigued and perplexed by the decimal numogram. What is its function? I don't just mean as a tool, I mean what is it actually doing? Sure, I am keen to know to what extent you think it is an instrument and what you are using it for. How can it not have a purpose, as well as a function? But is it off the leash yet? You cannot simply ignore the conscious aspect of its creation. After all, it has been constructed carefully with a lot of conscious thought regarding its internal consistency and relation to externally resonant mapping systems. But separate from that, is it really doing anything? And if not, why not? Answer 1. The numogram, click on the crew link on the right for image, is unfolded out of decimal numeracy, which it inhabits as an implex. It is therefore discovered more than created, its virtual existence being coincident with decimal numeracy itself. If it has a radically immanent function, independent of apprehension, it is probably best conceived on the abstract model of virus, sheer spreading. However, it is more practical to attribute functionalizations of the numogram to particular hyperstitional lineages, in which it is put to work in accordance with determinate programs. The most elaborated lineage, partially unearthed to date, is that of Cthulhu Club research and techno-sorcerous practice, associated with such names as Echidna Stillwell, Peter Visperif, Daniel C. Barker and Centauri. Within all the variegated offshoots of the Cthulhu Club lineage, the numogram is functionalized as a time map. Conceiving the numogram as a time map has a number of implications. A. Rather than representing any concrete empirical reality, it operates schematically in a crypto-Kantian sense, diagrammatically or figuratively. Applications of the numogram to concrete fields are mediated by time systems, time cultures and, most typically, time politics or time wars. B. The Kantian association of arithmetic and time is also pertinent, with the numogram inhering in elementary decimal notation and procedures, rather than in advanced number theory. It is crucial to the propagation and resilience of numogrammatics that it is affined with popular numeracy rather than professional/technical mathematics. C. The numogram takes up the time mapping functions of the Chinese I Ching, the Hebrew Tree of Life, and other chrononumeric systems, such as that of the Dogon. Its resonances or partial isomorphies with these perhaps best capture its virtual abstract and hyperchronic reality. Because the numogram charts an intense involvement in fate, it provokes oracular appropriations akin to those found in most occult traditions. Such usages are, of course, hyperstitionally sedimented and in no way transcendently authoritative. D. The widely hyped description of the numogram as a time-traveling device remains subject to explication and confirmation by rigorous procedural formulation and experiment. Nevertheless, it is plausible to maintain that all hyperstitional lineages intersect with time travel programs of some kind. Question 2. How much is the numogram useful as a tool to understand events, and how much is it functioning in the creation of events? Answer 2. Hyperstitional cultural subhistoricism seeks a region of convergence between these options, where the numogram clicks onto itself coincidentally as supreme method and ultimate object. By marking overall cultural, political programs as actually degenerated concretions of virtual numogrammatic impulses, hyperstition lines them up for savage decoding. This is why the role of the O-meta conspiracy is so decisive, since the diagrammatic directives guiding this vast covered movement are preeminently described by the Atlantean cross, a manifestly decayed version of the Lemurian numogram. Question 3. It must have been fun to synthesize the numogram from other static, discarded and lost material. But if we are not to believe in the numogram, how are we to use it in a state of not believing? I am still coming to terms with the notion of not believing but not believing. Answer 3. The numogram is auto-synthesized out of elementary decimal operations, including 1, 9 twinning or zygonovism, that is neither arithmetically nor culturally traditional. Its relation to static, discarded and lost material occurs through subsequent applications, relayed through hypostational lineages which relativize them. These applications are radically non-authoritative and incredible, typically motivated to engender a maximum of unbelief and thus lateral proliferation through alternative applications, lineages. The numogram itself has no thetic content, only procedural consistency. It thus entirely eludes the problematic of belief. Tukey also raises various technical questions about numogrammatics. Perhaps the most important thing to note here is that these issues are basically terminological, referring to the ways preliminary explorations of the numogram have tagged various aspects of its cartography. There is nothing remotely sacred about any of this. Different carriers might adopt quite different terms and emphasize different relations. Basic responses. Question 4.1. What is an impulse entity, and what is its significance in the context of the numogram? Don't mean anything to do with signifier. Answer 4.1. An impulse entity is a term coined by Peter Visperoff for any condensation within the numogram that seems to designate a thing, of whatever scale, to which strategic purpose, communicative potentiality or intelligence can be attributed. The term imp is colloquially used to denote numogrammatic coagulations below the level of lemurs, demons. Question 4.2. What is the functional difference between a gate and a channel? It seems that they could be the same thing, though we are accustomed to thinking of both channel and gate as physical things, when both could be considered as switches. Answer 4.2. The terms gate and channel, as used numogrammatically, also seem to have been originally coined by Visperoff, although this cannot be confidently confirmed. A channel is opened by unlocking a gate, but the difference in vocabulary is again basically conceptual, terminological, justified by its use value within particular research programs or practices. It seems quite productive to envisage gates, channels as time switches, anomalies or disturbances. Question 4.3. What is a Sarkonian mesh tag? How does it function? Answer 4.3. Oskar Sarkin's techno-mathematical overcoding of the pandemonium array, consisting of all entities defined by non-repeating descending decimal clusters, employed mesh tags as reference markers. Relatively little follow-up work has been undertaken in this area, in large part because Sarkin's own investigations have without exception resulted in intelligence catastrophes and escalating anthropal involvement, so the functional potential of mesh tagging remains uncertain. There's a lot more, but too much at once could be bad for digestion,